Like the same people right now who are saying one more day, one more month, one more dollar are the same people who said that for 20 years.
Lucas Kunce, a Marine veteran that served in Afghanistan, was on MSNBC and blasted Republicans and pro-war lawmakers over their efforts to stay in the country. Check this out.
All these people are playing the blame game right now over what's happening right now because they want to distract us from the fact that we spent 20 years, $2.3 trillion, and 2,500 U.S. service member lives over there for absolutely nothing. Like the same people right now who are saying one more day, one more month, one more dollar are the same people who said that for 20 years. And what we saw last week, that what that means is one more Marine. It means one more Marine over and over again. It reminds me of the saddest day of my entire life, which was standing on the flight line in Helmand, Afghanistan, in the middle of the night, watching the fallen body of one of the members of my battalion loaded onto a transport plane to go home. These people are trying to keep us focused on what's happening right now because they have been telling the American people that it was worthwhile to spend $2.3 trillion over there for absolutely nothing, while they've been refusing to spend that much building up our own country here at home. And we can't let them win. We have to fight back against that narrative because it's wrong, and it's just part of the systematic institutional dishonesty that has us in this position right now.
It is so refreshing to see a veteran invited on cable news who is not pushing for more war. And I'll get to later why this is actually the norm. If you speak to active duty troops or you see who they support, it is clear that a large chunk of them lean more progressive and are anti-war. But before I get to that, this is just, he lays out here how completely empty the arguments are from these pro-war lawmakers. These same people who made the mistake of going into Afghanistan to begin with, who continued the push to stay in the country even after the U.S. got Osama bin Laden, and he was in Pakistan, not even Afghanistan. But you have here him calling out that 20 years of this, and it all collapsed in a couple weeks. Clearly, more time, more money would have done nothing different. So for them to claim that because of these most recent attacks that the U.S. should stay in the country longer is just absolutely absurd, and it's good to see this coming from a Marine veteran. But I should mention, Lucas Kunce is running for U.S. Senate against Josh Hawley. He wants to unseat Josh Hawley, a Republican who is a fake populist. Lucas Kunce is a real populist. Check out his issues page. He fights for some of the issues he mentions here: fighting to break up corporate monopolies, fighting to abolish corporate PACs, and also universal health care, some other issues here that are more populist. And he recently had an interview with Cenk Uygur on TYT that goes deeper into these progressive issues. I'll link to that below the video as well as linking to his website here. But it's good to see someone like this who is speaking out against this, also getting airtime, and is also running for U.S. Senate. So a lot of people, I think, have this idea that because of the way the media portrays the military, a lot of people have this idea that members of the military, active and former members, are lean more conservative and are more pro-war. And that may be the case for leadership. That may be the case for those that sell out and get hired by defense contractors. But for active and former troops, for many of them, that is not the case. And in fact, a lot of them do lean progressive. And I'm reminded by this story I covered last year when Bernie Sanders was running in 2020. Bernie Sanders leads Trump, all 2020 candidates, in donations from active duty troops. This was a shocking story back then because, again, a lot of people have the idea that troops, aren't they pro-Trump? Don't they all lean conservative? No, actually, based on their donations, based on who they support politically, it's clear that at least a lot of them lean more progressive. And looking at the differences here, so soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines have donated a total of $185,625 to Sanders' 2020 campaign. The next closest is Trump at 113. And, so no one else is really close to Bernie's number here back in 2020. He, far and away, clearly the favorite among active duty military was Bernie Sanders. So it's a reminder that, often the line or the propaganda that's pushed out there in terms of the media largely being pro-war, though I got to admit it's changing now, especially when you have guests like this on, or people like Mehdi Hassan on MSNBC calling out consistently, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell calling it out. So it's good to see those voices out there. But by and large, taking in the newspapers, taking in all of media, it's still very heavily pro-war, and that's because they're surrounded by these former generals who have sold out to defense contractors, and they're being influenced by their thoughts, which are then influenced by the defense contractors that hired them. So it's generally the discussion around foreign policy and U.S. imperialism is not an honest discussion on cable news. But it was good to see Lucas Kunce, remind people of the reality and how I think, and I believe he thinks this as well, how the majority of active and former members of the military feel about these never-ending wars.